The three of the Hoop Threads podcast dealing with the enemy today. Lamar Butler, assistant coach at PVI. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
So it's been good getting to know you a little bit. Kind of talking through Twitter DMs about kids and stuff like that. And we definitely both love sarcasm. So there's
Right.
big fan of the tweets too, for sure. So let's get back to the beginning to talk about. I heard that your father was one of the best players to come out of Beacon County.
Yeah.
His career and how you developed your love for the game and your career at Oxon Hill.
Man, it was crazy. I mean, my first love wasn't even basketball; it was football. But as you can tell, I just really wasn't built for it. I'm a skinny guy, so them hits hurt a little bit more. I didn't really start liking basketball. I would say until I was I think it was 12 and under. I remember we won the championship, Boys and Girls Club. I was dribbling the ball up the sideline against Kentland Boys and Girls Club, and I never forget. I lost the ball out of bounds, and that was the first time I ever felt emotion. So I turned the ball over to lose the championship. That was the first time I ever really felt emotion for it. So I was like, okay, I wanna do this. But I wasn't really into basketball until I was 12. I just did it because my dad played.
Got you. You played on some pretty legendary teams. I believe you played with Mike while he was there. At one time, you won 35 straight games, won a 4A state title at Oxon Hill. What are some of your fondest memories there? What did you learn while you were playing there?
Man, work ethic. Being at Oxon Hill, you get thrown into it. The culture that was there, the programs, the guys pushed each other. The biggest thing was work ethic. You couldn't come in there and just slouch between upperclassmen like Richard Little, Charlie Sharp, Chachi, those upperclassmen. I wasn't even at Oxon Hill yet, and it was just like, nah, this is the man that we require of everybody that puts the uniform on. So you work hard, not just to, not for yourself, but for just to make not just to please those guys, but they push you how to train yourself and push yourself as far as becoming a better basketball player. That was the biggest thing that I took away from Oxon Hill and competing. Everything was competition. So those two things I would say.
You played for the head coach that you currently work under, Coach Fellow at PVI. But you played under him with PG Select. What did you learn from him, and how is he different now than he was then?
Let it fly. Coach Fellow was not gunshot, man. I remember let it fly. He was very open on offense. He's very, I would say, calm now compared to he was back then. Very fiery guy. He's always been fiery, but I remember AAU, he was just like, let it fly. It was, we basically had to outscore whoever we were playing. So fun guy to play for sure.
Got you. Talk about your recruitment process. You had a good amount of Division I schools, some really good mid-majors. Some had some interest from, Power 5 schools. Talk about how you whittled down that list, and were there any kind of regrets? Would you do it any differently today?
So my dream school was always Maryland. It's crazy because Dwayne Sinkins was the first college athlete I looked up to. And he and I have developed a relationship, especially since he's taken the job at Mason. That was my dream school. And the whole thing with Maryland was, go to prep school, get strong. I weighed 150 pounds coming out of high school, so I wasn't really the strongest guy. Right. So it was go to prep school, and I didn't have the funds to go to prep school. So we did the whole song and dance. I remember Coach Pat Sos and Coach what's his name? Billy Hahn coming a couple of games, Gary Williams. So I flirted with Maryland, even Georgetown. They were off my list early. They recruited Tony Bethel and Drew Hall, and Drew was my backcourt mate in my first AAU program. So when those guys were there, it's there's no room. GW was one of my top choices. They ended up taking with TJ Thompson committed earlier before me. Same class, similar position. I scratched them off my list. I would say that some of my senior, actually, I thought I was going to go to Xavier. They had just gone to the Elite Eight. David West was on that team. Sato. And we had a guy, Alvin was from here that was on that team. He was doing well. So in my heart, I just knew I was going to Xavier. But every event that I played in, it was George Mason was there. Even at 5-star when David West was my coach, and he was basically recruiting me the entire time. Just commit, just come on, commit. George Mason was literally at every event making sure it didn't happen. So we would be doing drills and they're standing under the basket. Coach Cherry, I vividly remember Coach Cherry. One time I was walking into the gate, he punched me, but he had his hat low, so I couldn't tell who it was. And I looked up, it was him. So they did a great job. Looking back, I would say they did a great job of not allowing me to recruit or allowing me to commit to Xavier. Because like I said, I just in my head I was like, I'm about to commit, man. But Mason just fought that one. So those are like my final four. I would say GW.
And there was a connection
Mason.
to it, Mason, because one of your father's former players was
Terrence.
Right?
Yeah. I had been around at Mason since my sophomore year in high school because of Terrence. I was going to all the games. Same with GW. I would go to GW games, but I was at Mason a lot just because of Terrence.
Gotcha.
Yes, I had been around the program a lot. Guys were like saying like I've been there 10 years, but I mean I pretty much was because I started going there in high school.
And what made you feel comfortable, about that, committing to Coach Larinaga and, believing in what he had going? What did you like about it?
Coach Courtney. I talk to him seems like every day. I remember one time Richmond, I had a visit with Richmond, and Coach Mike was coming to see me. And Coach Courtney literally talked to me all the way up until he walked in the door, and then when he left, he called me. So it's crazy. I remember I was in my dad's shop, and literally I got off the phone, met with Mike, and then Coach Courtney's like, call me back when it's over, and talk to him. So he was he was in my ear, and just being a big brother. Especially once I got there, I just felt comfortable with Coach Courtney. And that's that.
Talk about the group your freshman year, kind of the results you had, and then going into your sophomore year, what your experience was at Mason.
Man, my freshman year, so going in, I knew it was a big expectation. But that was one of the things was Coach L was like, you got to be ready to play right away. So literally, I graduated. After our final game against Roosevelt, we lost to Coach Farello in the regional championship. I think I had like 2 weeks off. And Coach L was like, you got to get up here with Handy. I mean, we're about only weight 150 coming out of high school. And he got me in the weight room early, on the court early. So my freshman year, I knew the expectations coming in that I had to be ready. So I just challenged myself and pushed myself to be ready. So I was fortunate enough to earn all rookie team as a NCAA. I was run-up player of the year behind Kenny Adeleke. And then I went to the NIT. And that was a learning experience. We got to play against St. Joseph's, and we lost, I believe it was the second round. We lost to St. Joseph's in the NIT with Jameer Nelson. Delonte was a freshman at that time. Playing against somebody like Jameer Nelson is definitely a heck of an experience as a freshman, having to guard him. That was tough.
And I think that the next year you got hurt, right?
Yeah, so that summer it was crazy. I'll never forget Jerome Dyson. We were playing pickup. And he made like a backdoor cut, and I was stepping at the same time. My leg like whiplash, and I heard a pop. And it was my hip flexor. So it was like a small tear, but it never really healed. So it turned into the tendonitis. So I had two options: either have surgery and be out 6 to 8 months, or rehab and you'd be out. I think it was 8 to 10 months, or 8 to 12 months. And I didn't want to get cut open, so I was like, I'll just rehab it, and that's what I did.
Got you. And that's a difficult process, talk about what you learned about yourself, mental toughness and everything. And, trusting your body once you get back playing is a big part of it too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I needed it, to be honest. I needed to get stronger. I remember my freshman year, I went from 150 to 173 by the time the season started as far as weight. But I still wasn't as strong as I needed to be. I remember my freshman year, my body just completely broke down. I had never, coming out of high school, you're not used to playing that hard for so long. Because I did play a lot of minutes, by the end of my senior year, my freshman year, I was cooked. Like my body, I didn't even make it through the game against St. Joe's without having to come out and get some treatment. It was that bad. So I needed that year just to watch. Get better physically and also to watch. Because I went to college, I was young, I was 17. So I was able to sit back and just watch. And then everything that Coach L would talk about, I was able to visually see while I was on the sideline. So that was a good mental year for me, I would say, sitting out that year and watching.
Got you. So a lot of people that don't, like they know that you were part of the team that went on the Final Four run, but they didn't know that it was actually kind of a revenge tour of sorts. Eventual losses to both North Carolina and Michigan State the year before. Talk about the confidence that gave you guys as a group, and how you kind of felt about things going into the tournament your senior year.
Man, I was just talking about this recently. I would say it started our sophomore year. So the year I came back, we had a NIT run against Tennessee. We beat Tennessee at home. We beat Belmont, and then we lost to Oregon on the road. Oregon should have been the tournament that year. They lost Aaron Brooks. He broke his foot, played for the Rockets for all those years. They had Luke Jackson. Who else did they have on that team? I forget the kid that Harrison was on that team. They were really good. They should not have been in the NIT at all. But going against those guys, it was a back and forth game all game, and then they kind of pulled away at the end. So for me, Jai and Tony to be starters as sophomores against a team that good, that gave us confidence for the next year. Even though we sucked our junior year, it gave us the confidence to know that we could play against anybody, man. Like, seriously. So we played against Carolina our junior year. I'm sorry, that was our sophomore year too. We were up 2 at the half. And we ended up losing by 30, but I broke my foot in the beginning of the game. So that year playing against those teams and having to be, in the rotation was major for us. That just gave us the confidence going into our senior year. Even the teams we played against our junior, like you said, Michigan State, we played against my junior year. We were up most of the game. Then they go up 3. I remember it was 66. It was 60-60, and then Chris Hill hit 2 threes with like a minute and a half left, and that put them up 6, and they won the game. So, playing against those teams early in your career definitely gives you confidence. And then by your senior year, it's like they're not better than us. So.
Got you. So you kind of walked into things, with a lot more. Yeah, I think people that underestimate the importance of being on a run and just momentum. The mentality leading into the tournament. And how did you guys do in the conference tournament before that? I actually didn't check out that.
Yeah, we were hurt. So like John and Will both had sprained ankles. So we limped into the conference tournament. So we lost to Hofstra, team we lost to all season. They just had our number, but we limped into the tournament. So it was kind of like, it was kind of good that we lost early because it allowed those guys to get healthy. But to the tournament, I would say it wasn't a team that we didn't feel confident in against, to be honest. When we saw the draw, it was like, you can beat all of these teams. they put us in the wrong bracket. Seriously.
Yeah, I know that a couple of people have told me that you really hate the word, Cinderella when it comes to
I hate it.
Talk about the step by step, the first 2 rounds. Like, when did you kind of first think that you guys were good? Like you said, you looked at the bracket and you thought that you'd been disrespected and had a relatively easy path. What was your mentality going into that?
To be honest, going into it was let's prove everybody that they were wrong about us. Because when we got picked, everybody said it was controversial because we lost to Hofstra, not knowing that our 2 of our bigs were hurt. So we heard the comments live on television. So really, it was just go out and prove it. And so we had a very, 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 very confident group. The 3 seniors, Shaq, following Campbell, Will Thomas. Those guys were super confident, man. So it really wasn't any lacking on our end. It was just, all right, people don't know who we are. Let's go out and prove it.
And that just comes with mid-major basketball, for the
yeah, it does. I mean, we understood the nature of the beast, but that was our time.
We'll get to Florida in a second, but beating the teams that you beat. Talk about the game right before Florida. You handled that game in pretty convincing fashion. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, so Coach L, so he's only done this 2 times in my entire career. It was the NIT game against my freshman year, NIT game against St. Joe's, where he said, I'm just opening the offense up. He's very methodical about how he wants to attack, defenses. So he's done that 2 times. My freshman year against St. Joe's, and then against UConn. So the game plan literally against UConn, he wrote on the board was, get back in transition, no easy points. And then he was like, we got to outscore him. So he was like, guys, you got to be aggressive because they're a high-scoring team. So if you got a team of 5 scorers, that's all the game plan was on offense. So it was everybody antenna went up. It was like, okay, you want us to be aggressive and give us the green light, we'll take it. So literally, that was the game plan. No easy baskets, back in transition, outscoring more offense. So that's why everybody was so aggressive going into that game.
That Ferrella mentality. I'm sure you love that part.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Talk about, is there anything that you wish you could have done differently leading up to the game against Florida? As far as preparation, or if you had, been working on a different move, getting up a lot more reps, maybe from one side of the court or pick and roll. Is there anything you could have done differently?
Yeah, that was it. we had started. We really weren't a heavy pick and roll team, but going into the tournament, we kind of worked on it, but we got away from it because we really hadn't worked on it. But against Florida, watching the film, it took me 7 years to watch. I remember I called Coach Hill and we talked about it. I was actually in my parents' house. I saw an ODD, so I just popped it in. And he was, we talked about 30 minutes. He was like, I wish that's something we would have done against them. And I was like, yeah, because we needed to bring their bigs away from the basket. They weren't great defensively on the perimeter. They just funneled everything to those bigs. And the way they played us in a post, it was kind of tough to get our post game going. But their guards, like I said, they weren't that good to me as far as on defense. So I remember we said something to him. He was like, okay, well, let's attack the guards. So I think I got to the basket once. Tony got to the basket once. Shaq got to the basket. Like 3 straight possessions. We all missed like bunnies. And he was like, let's go back to running this set. And I remember in my head, I was like, let's stay with it because they can't guard us. But I felt like that was the advantage more so than our, trying to attack them in a post. Bringing them away from the basket, going more pick and roll and attacking those guards. I felt like it was more of an advantage than that. I don't think we spoke up or really hammer home like let's stick with this game plan. We just kind of did what we had done all tournament. We played through our bigs.
I mean, I think a lot of it too was, you're going against future NBA All-Stars in both Horford and Noah. And I think that the rebounding advantage, you guys were out rebounded by 11. I think that had a lot more to do with it. I mean, there was a possession, I think, under 2 minutes when you guys cut it to like 9. And they got 4 offensive rebounds. It was just like, dude, we're a guard going against Al Horford. I don't, I don't know what to tell you there.
They were us, but they were just bigger. Play some of the style of basketball. They were just bigger.
Gotcha. Talk about, with that experience at George Mason, talk about like a relationship off the court that, that you still hold to this day, so outside the basketball program.
Outside the basketball program, alumni, I still talk to people. Matter of fact, I talked to Bill Rowland today. He does the radio for Mason, broadcasting. Obviously, I still talk to my teammates. Text Tony Skin today. Follow Campbell. I still talk to him. Me and JV and Shaq, we were all together at the A-10 tournament. It's like a brotherhood. That'll never go away. We have a group chat, so it's constant. It's family. That's how I see it. It's family.
Got you. And that's the big part of it that a lot of people don't understand. You go to a mid-major, it really is, the 40-year relationship versus the 4-year relationship. Because sometimes, if you go to a high major, they can recruit to go to the top of you as well. So, so let's move on to you started working with Team Takeover, I believe. That was or was it DC Thunder before then?
Yeah, the DC Thunder for half a summer.
Actually, let's go before that real quick. I know that you played overseas for a couple of years. Give me your best overseas story. I know you got to have one of them.
Man, my first year, I remember I was in Czech Republic, middle of nowhere. I go, it's like land like around 9. I got in late. So I remember I landed like around 9, but it was like an hour and a half drive to I was in Prosteo, which is about an hour and a half, 2-hour ride from Prague. So I get in, it's like 11:30. So it's late and I'm hungry. So I asked the team manager picking me up at that time. And he was like, you want something to eat? And I was like, of course. He's like, everything's closed. So you got to go to the grocery store. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go to the grocery store. Mind you, nothing is in English. So I'm like, man, what can I eat? So I'm like, you know what? I'll eat some cereal. I can eat cereal any time of the day. So the thing is, we get to the milk. So I'm like, I don't know which one to pick. So I just grabbed some milk and I got some, I had some Frosted Flakes. Yeah. So I just grabbed some milk. So I'm like, all right, we good. So we get home, I get back to the hotel I was staying in for that night. So I go to open the cereal, the milk, and it comes out like soup. So I'm like, oh man, it's spoiled. So I sent a picture to the manager, like, man, I think the milk is spoiled. He's like, oh man, that's cat milk.
What?
Yeah. So, but by that time the grocery store had closed. I think it closed at like 12. So I was stuck with the cat milk. So I didn't.
Did you eat it?
No, I just ate the dry cereal. I ate dry milk.
You said I'm not messing with all that.
So I had, I accidentally bought cat milk. It would help if it had a cat on it, but it didn't have a cat. So I
yeah, we're you're getting upset with those labels, man.
Yeah.
All right, so talk about, coming back to the States and, getting involved in the AAU scene. I was listening to another interview. It said you were kind of like fighting coaching for a long time.
Oh
Yeah. Talk about your first experiences coaching.
Because I knew the game had changed. Just hearing from different coaches that actually got into coaching, they were like, "Man, when you get into coaching, this is different. These kids are different." I was like, "You know what? I'm not even dealing with it." The parents, the kids, everything had just changed since I played. So, I went to a Georgetown game. I went to go see Markel Starks play, and I believe Markel was playing. Yeah, Markel was playing. And I know Markel since he was a little boy, and it was my first time being home in years. I'll be able to see a game. So I went to go see him play, and I was sitting in the stands, and Coach Zach Super walked up to me. He was like, "Man, what are you doing now?" Like, "I'm home." I was like, "I just came to watch Markel play." He's like, "Are you coaching?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm not coaching." So again, Zach was like, "You're coaching this summer." So that's how I got into coaching. Because I've known Zach since I was a boy. So, it's like my uncle. So he's like, "You know what? You're coaching." So, all right, well, Uncle Zach said I'm coaching. I'm a coach. So that's how I got to it.
That was DC Thunder or
yeah, DC Thunder. Thunder. So the first meeting I went to, I met Anthony Cowan. I met Anthony Cowan at the meeting. He told me I would be working with Ant. So that's
what age group is that?
It was 17.
Oh, 17. Okay.
So I started with 17, then I moved down to 16, and then so I had Jared Bynum, Winston Tabbs, Kwanzaa Samuels was on that team. Who else was on that team? Bottle Morse. Team was good.
Okay. Yeah, real good team.
Yeah, real good team.
Got you. Yeah, a lot of high level players there. Talk about, you kind of fell sideways into high school coaching as well.
Yeah. So yeah, having Kwanzaa that summer. Yeah, having Kwanzaa that summer, I was at a game. And then I saw Kwanzaa's dad, and he was asking me, was I gonna coach high school? And I was like, nah, I'm not. Especially after the summer I just had, I was like, I'm done with coaching. I'm not coaching. He said, yes, you are. So literally, as he says that, it was like a movement. I look up, and he looks up and was like, that's the head coach of St. John's. Matter of fact, he said, I'm gonna go talk to him for you. And so he literally walks, he flags him over. He's like, introduce us. He's like, this is Lamar. He wants to coach. So at that point, that's how I coached. So as you can tell, I can't say no.
I don't know if it's divine intervention, but it's definitely some kind of intervention. So, after St. John's, a spot opened up at PVI, and, with your relationship with Farello, you came over there and started coaching over there. Talk about how your responsibilities, kind of changed and how you evolved, what type of experiences you took from your time at St. John's to your time at PVI.
I would say it was the same as, with Coach Mack. We did a lot of conversing about like strategies, game plan, like everything was like, by group effort. So it wasn't no different when I got to PVI. I mean, Coach Farello probably calls me more. Like, what do you think? Always bouncing ideas. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? What do you think about this? So it's basketball. That's the way we played. That's how my team was built at George Mason. Like, we just talk basketball, and that's what I enjoyed while I was at St. John's. The same way at PVI. You go scout and bring back your notes, and you just talk about it. What's the best way to attack it? That's how it is. So basketball.
Yeah, typically, I'm assuming you work with the guards primarily, but one of the instincts that I've noticed with Doug, Doug McDaniel, great senior point guard at PVI, had a phenomenal career with you all over there. Whenever you guys get scored on, it seemed like he always got the ball in really quickly and then got 94 feet to the paint to the other side and was either, doing the running floater off glass,
right.
bump and layup contact or went across his body and hit the righty off glass. It always seems like he's intentionally getting to the basket right away to kind of quiet that run. Is that just something instinctual that just kind of happens? Is that taught? Is that one of your staples over there?
Yeah, push the pace always, but that's more instinct. One of the things we teach is attack and transition. You watch basketball now. And that's one of the things I learned when I got to the pro level is 80-90% of the basketball is in transition. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I share with the guards is you guys want to get paid at this, you got to learn how to play in transition or play in transition more. You know what I mean? You don't want to play slow unless you want to play like a school like DBA. Mm-hmm. But these guys want to get paid. So, okay, you want to get paid. Well, let's start thinking and playing like pros. Yeah. Everything, like I said, most of the game at the pro level is transition. So that's one of the things I just preach to the guards is like where to attack and how to attack in transition. But he's been blessed with God-given speed. So
Mm-hmm.
He just does a little bit faster than everybody else.
I mean, I think it's the speed, but I think it really is the instincts as far as just kind of always probing the defense and trying to take.
Yeah.
He's trying to beat his almost always like his opponent just scored at the basket, so he's already by them. So then he's trying to bring out a big, and he's trying to draw up one more defender so that he can kind of create an advantage situation.
Yeah.
Just one of the little things that I noticed. Talk about. I'm curious because you guys are always a pretty deep team. It always seems like you have, junior, senior guard or two that's really good, but then you have another one that's a freshman or a sophomore that's kind of waiting in the wings. Talk about, some of the tricks for finding minutes for some of those players year in and year out to get the developmental minutes where they're also not hurting you, if you get what I'm saying. And, you also have to find, time to showcase your seniors and stuff for colleges and stuff like that. Talk about the intentionality of, distributing those minutes and getting guys to buy into their role.
That's an ongoing debate, to be honest, because every team does it different.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily put the development on the onus of that on the coach.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that is I tell upperclassmen, one, practice, push these guys in practice, but two, when we get in games, you got to treat every game like it's, so important that you get these young guys minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do what you if you don't do what you got to do as an upperclassman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the game, instead of being a 10-point game or a 20-point game, it's a 5-point game because you're not taking it as serious. That hurts these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So now I look at it as being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really put that on the coach to try to find minutes, because if these guys aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, I put these guys in who aren't ready. We lose, and who's upset? The parents mad because blame the coach because we lost.
Mm-hmm.
But the coach doesn't play.
Mm-hmm.
So I put development more so. For me, I'm just a believer that it's the team is in the hands of the upperclassmen. You guys got to be leaders. So you got to take the development of these underclassmen. It's your personal job. We'll do what we got to do in skill work, but the in-game stuff that you've learned, that has to be constant conversation between the underclass and upperclass.
Gotcha. And what goes into, you play with some really confident players on Final Four team, and you've coached several young players at PVI that had a big role since freshman year or sophomore year. What leads to that early development, kind of being ready for that responsibility early on? Is it kind of like preparation that goes into it? A natural leadership? Is it more you guys are giving them a lot of leash to create? What are the big factors there?
Well, so I learned that from experience early. But one thing that I tell them, now I'm on the coaching side, is always prepare like you're going to be a starter, no matter what your role is. My daughter's in the background crying.
It's all right.
Always prepare like you're going to be starter. And I know Doug can tell you this firsthand. That was one of the things I told him when I first met him at PVI. That was my first year. Mm-hmm. Because injuries. I've been on some really good teams that didn't, reach what they were supposed to be because of injuries. And guys weren't ready to be starters. So that was one lesson that I learned. So I just, basically I'm just passing everything I've learned to these guys. And that's one thing I told them, like, be prepared. And lo and behold, Roach and Ant goes out. Guess who has to start? Doug and Daniel. So that's just a mentality thing. You have to have that going in. Don't look at the depth chart. Just always prepare to be a starter. Wherever the chips land, you get your opportunity, you'll be ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that first game that he had against Montverde, I was actually at the scores table, working the table at the Mathis, so I got to see him from early on. That was really cool. What were some of the best ways as a player, or maybe you learned more about it as a coach, that you found to get a player out of a shooting slump, whether that's just a shooting slump or just they're playing awful, maybe just not confident? Is it kind of like extra film time? Is it more, court work? Is it more, staying in that ass, so to speak, or kind of backing off, challenging them? What's worked? I'm sure it's been different for different scenarios, but
it's different. It's based on the player. It just depends. So like some players, like you said, you can just send them some highlight clips of them making shots, so they start to feel good about themselves. It could be they just need to get in the gym, get mechanics right, and see the ball actually go in. Or it can be a rhythm thing. Like they're just not in a rhythm in the game. So the best way is like get yourself going in the game, get some easy shots, transition, defense. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10,
it's all right.
9 times out of 10 is because I found at high school level, they want to take off on defense and then try to play offense. They're not good enough this level to do one side of the basketball and they think they're gonna be fine on offense. Just what I found. You can't not play defense and expect to be in a rhythm and a flow of the game because you take yourself out of it on defense and then you expect to just jump right back in on offense. That's just not how it works.
Mm-hmm. So you've been on some successful teams. You know, what factors elicit buy-in from the players, you know, into what the coach is preaching? You know, is it kind of the relationship with the coach? You know, how do you guys get them to believe in the PVI way, so to speak?
For me, the PVI way, how to get them to buy in is every player is different. So at the end of the day, I want you to be the best version of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are your goals short term and long term? Because I know if you're preparing to be a Division I athlete, if you prepare every single day to be a Division I athlete, get a scholarship and be productive on a basketball court, PVI will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tell me you want to be a Division I, whether it's Division II, Division III, that's your goal. Okay, so we got to attack this day to become a Division III athlete, a Division II or Division I. Mm-hmm. If you do that, PVI will be fine. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just talk to the guys and get what their goals are. So we have a map, and then when they don't live up to that standard, I say, well, this is what you told me, X, Y, and Z. You're not doing that. You really don't want this. Mm. So let me know if I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my time pushing you, and should I work with somebody else? Waste my time there, or if you really want it, so let's work. Gotcha. It all comes down to the work.
Talk about what you've learned, you know, working now for Team Takeover, you know, with Coach Stevens and his crew over there. You know, your role with them and then what you've learned in your time. Kind of, I was talking to him earlier today. He said a lot of what you do is like scouting, you know, opponents as well as like the on-court stuff. What are you looking for when you look at, you know, scouting opponents? You know, what are you noting specifically? And, you know, what have you just learned from
Yeah, at the high school level, you kind of go in more detail. But with AAU, kind of just look for tendencies. It's without going into too much, without giving away my tricks. I look at, you know, tendencies, where they like to attack from, who has the ball a lot, what is weaknesses, those type of things. So like for me, if you're a team that likes to play from the top of the key, well, I want to get you on top of the key. Mm-hmm. Let's get them to the wing or to the baseline and see how good they are. And whoever has the ball a lot with the tendency they're looking for with the actions, like what's the weakness in that action? Let's make them play to that. It's a lot, but with A, you can't really get into detail. High school, you can kind of go into more detail. So
cool.
That's what I kind of look for.
Two more quick questions and I'll get you out of here. I really appreciate the time today. What are some of the, you know, what do you make of Kim English's evaluations? You know, it seems to be like a very focused strategy for English and the staff to offer really good players early, at least locally, and kind of the recruiting styles and kind of compare and contrast some of that to Coach L while you were at George Mason.
I would say what struck me the most about Kim, so I remember when he first got the job, we spoke. And I never had one conversation with him about Josh as far as his skill set. And I remember he was going to work him out, and I told him, let me know what you think. Literally, he texted me right after, like, bro, like he's basically a guard. And, you know, I could put him here. So my antennas went off because it's like, thank you, because I always felt like Josh was in the post too much under Paulson. And having him at PVI, I used to always tell Coach, like, he needs to be down here with the guards. Like, he's not a big man. Like, if we go high-low, he can play free throw line. He can handle the ball on the perimeter. He always processed the game like a guard to me. He just needs somebody that can define his skills and sharpen his skills on the court. And that's what Kim was. Mm-hmm. So when I talked to him, it was like, he gets it. He understands the game. Literally in 10 minutes, he saw the same thing I saw when I first got the PVI and saw Josh. So that kind of was the green light for me. Just hearing him talk about Josh and his vision for the team, he just got it. And I would say the way he's similar to Coach L is, thank you. Coach L is very detailed. And I think that's where I get it to a degree. I know that's where I get it from. It's like almost every play is scripted. You know, you still get your freedom, but Like he is very detailed with the defense does this. This is what we're looking for, and that's how Kim is. You can tell he's very, very, very detailed. Like there's no stone unturned playing for a coach like Coach Kim. So for me to see that, I know you have to be high IQ to play for a coach like that. Like you got to be able to think and process the game super fast and be skilled. So I'm excited for the future because I know what type of players he's going to bring in because you naturally attract what you're looking for if you're that way. So I'm excited to see what type of players coming through those doors now he's the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems to be getting a different caliber of player now at George Mason. Yeah. And, you know, Josh was a very good beginning to that and showing that he could develop him. And also they could keep Josh because Josh was considering transferring at the beginning, you know, when he got there. So last question is, talk about what you're excited for next year at Mason and at PVI.
Well, I'll start with Mason. I'm excited to see, like I said, the portal nowadays is free agency, college basketball. So I'm excited to see what Kim brings in on that staff. Just to finally get some wins, man. Like, I know the fan base is kind of upset we've been down for so long. But I do believe things are going to change for sure. That's on women's and men's side, by the way. It's not just the men's side. I had a chance to attend some practices with the ladies, and coaches, she's good too. They're similar, matter of fact, her and Kim. As far as PVI, man, those young guys just earning those times and their stripes this year and then coming back being even better. Having a full summer now development because of not as many COVID restrictions. So I just like watching guys grow, helping them along their basketball journey. So that's what excites me. It's not really the wins or losses, it's just helping these guys get better. Cool. That's what I look forward to.
We're gonna run through some quick hitters real quick and then get you out of here. Okay. What's a great podcast or YouTube series that you're tuning into right now?
Man, well, my schedule, none. So my wife is on a call, so I told her I was like, I need to do this interview. So she's just letting the little one run back and forth.
I got you. Okay. If you were the czar of basketball for a day, what would you change?
Good question. If I was the czar of basketball, what would I change? Man, that's not really a quick hitter because there's a lot that I would change. For me, I think it would be you talking about just the overall game.
Yep. Or high school, or if there's something specific about college you don't like, really any of them is fine.
Man, there's really nothing I really would change about the game per se. I think I would want to change the approach that some of these kids take to the game. Nothing really away from the game because I love the way this game is played now. If you're skilled, you can shoot, you can defend, you have size. Like there's room for you. But I would just change the way these kids approach the game because I do believe now, because the game is so fluid, if you really take your development with ball handling, dribbling, shooting, like there's a spot for you, man. That would be my wish is just change the way these kids approach the game.
I like that. Best player you've seen who never made it to the league?
Whew. Because all the ones I saw made it. Best player that I've ever played against or seen that never made it? That's tough. I guess because the level I played at, those guys made it, like Jonathan Hargett, Smush Parker, Omar Cook, Terrence. I got to go Terrence. What's Terrence last name? He was killed in Baltimore. Terrence. Terrence. But Jonathan Hargett. No, he didn't make it to the league. Jonathan Hargett, for sure.
Okay, cool. Invite 3 basketball minds to a dinner to chop it up with.
Man. Now or throughout history?
Anytime.
Coach Spo. I mean, not Coach Spo. Coach, scratch Coach Spo. Now, Pop, for sure.
Okay.
Phil Jackson, second. Got to go Red out, man.
I like that answer. One of my favorite coaches of all time. If you were a college athlete right now, what NIL deal would you want? Is there a specific smoothie shop or?
Tropical Smoothie Cafe, for sure. Man, listen.
All day.
I get rewards every week. Yeah, tropical for sure.
MJ or LeBron?
LeBron.
Wow.
You got to ask me why.
Why?
What, as a coach, like for me, I don't look at just scoring. I look at everything he does. I don't think there's been a basketball player in NBA history who has the workload that he does every night. He has to be the point guard, the scorer, facilitator, and then on defense he has to be the quarterback because he's playing under the basket. In today's basketball, that's who your quarterback is. You know what I mean? So I would say LeBron.
Would you rather take a charge from Shaq or try to guard KD with the game on the line?
I'm fouling KD, so it don't matter. I'm fouling KD. I'm fouling. You gotta go to the line, buddy. You're not scoring over me.
It's the best dynasty you've seen.
Oh, in basketball, gotta go Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
Gotta go Chicago Bulls.
Who's an underrated Twitter follow? Maybe someone that people don't know about, or some people that doesn't get the respect they should get.
Man, you know who I love? I love following Nate Jones. I don't know if people know who he is. I love following Nate. He talks basketball. Even though he's not on the basketball side, he's on the management side. Nate Jones for sure for me.
Good one. All right, and the last question is what makes the DMV great? You know, is there something in particular? Is it coaching? Is it the level of the players around you that you're playing against every year? You know, what makes the DMV great? You
get to see those guys early in your career. I remember coming up, I saw Simp. I was a pup and I saw him playing. And it gives you something to strive for. And it's a lot of great players. I remember seeing Steve Francis when I was coming up. I was in high school. Even like Terrence Nixon and George Mason. It's just a lot of guys. You go to the Kennedy League, you get to see these guys, you know. You get to see these guys early. And there's a lot of them. So, for sure.
Cool. Okay.
Get over the reach.
Last question is what you want your legacy to be?
I helped as many kids as I possibly can to be better basketball players and better men, young men. That's what my legacy to be.
It's a good goal, brother. All right, let the people know where they can find you on Twitter. Let's get you out of here for the day.
My Twitter handle is Butler, BUTLER, the number 2, and then TWO spelled out. Yeah, that's my Twitter handle. Or just search Lamar Butler, you'll find me.
Gotcha. Really appreciate the time, brother.
No problem. All right.